9 p.m. with me, Bhawna Nayar. Before getting into details of the day's top national and international news, let's take a look at top 5 headlines this Wednesday evening. New India focusing on reforms, infrastructure and talent, asserts Prime Minister Modi at the inauguration of Invest Karnataka 2022. Hands over keys of houses to over 3,000 people under slum rehabilitation project in Delhi. Government approved subsidy for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers, raises price of ethanol extracted from sugarcane, advances target for selling 20% ethanol blended petrol by 5 years. One-day state mourning in Gujarat over Morbi bridge accident. 4 of the arrested in police custody. Rajkot and Morbi Bar Association say they will not defend the accused. Counting of votes continues in Israel. Netanyahu's coalition in sight of comeback after almost 4 years of political deadlock in the country. And India moved closer to semi-final berth in T20 World Cup. Beat Bangladesh in a thrilling match. Virat Kohli becomes top run scorer in T20 World Cup history. And after the top headlines, a quick look now at some more important news. Ministry of Textiles clears 20 strategic research projects worth 74 crore rupees under the National Technical Textiles Mission. 100-fold increase in sales under Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi scheme. Revenues up from 7 crore to 894 crore in 8 years, says Union Minister Mandavia. Zojila Day commemorated in Dras to celebrate action by Indian troops in 1948 Operation Bison. Central Board of Direct Taxes releases draft of common income tax return form for public consultation. Tata's buyout Air Asia 16.3% stake in joint venture Air Asia Berhad for $19 million. Ela Bhatt, activist and Padma Bhushan recipient, passes away. Prime Minister Modi condoles her death. India logs 1,190 new COVID cases in last 24 hours. Active count dips to 16,243. Enforcement Directorate summons Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren for questioning in illegal mining case on Thursday. Outraged user criticized Twitter's decision to charge $8 a month for a verified blue tick badge. And India expresses concern to Colombo on allowing refueling of Chinese military vessels on high seas, with Sri Lankan tankers picking up fuel from Hambantota Seaport. And now news in detail. The Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved the proposal for fertilizer subsidy in the Rabi season as well as the name of a new airport in Arunachal Pradesh. The government also approved an MOU with Denmark in the field of water resources. The government on Wednesday approved a subsidy of Rs 51,875 crore for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers for the second half of 2022-23 as part of efforts to provide affordable soil nutrients to farmers. The government said that the volatility in the international prices of fertilizers and raw materials has been primarily absorbed by the centre. The government has further increased the prices of ethanol for blending with petrol to Rs 65.60 per litre from the current Rs 63.45 per litre from December 2022. The rate of ethanol prepared from C-heavy molasses has been increased from Rs 46.66 per litre to Rs 49.40 per litre. The Union Cabinet approved the proposal to name Arunachal Pradesh's new greenfield airport, Dhoni Polo Airport, Itanagar. The new airport is being built at a cost of Rs 646 crore by the Airport Authority of India with central and state help. Moving on to another story, Prime Minister Modi handed over the keys of houses to the beneficiaries of 3,024 newly constructed EWS flats in Kalkaji under the in situ slum rehabilitation project. The Prime Minister called it a big day for hundreds of families in Delhi who were living in the slums of Delhi for years. He said the poor, whose blood and sweat has ensured the development of the cities, are forced to live a life of poverty in the same city. That is why in the last 7 decades, our cities are deprived of holistic development.
अकेले कालकाजी एक्सटेंशन के फर्स्ट फेज में ही 3000 से ज्यादा घर बनकर तैयार कर लिए गए हैं और बहुत ही जल्द यहां रह रहे दूसरे परिवारों को भी गृह प्रवेश का मौका मिलेगा। मुझे विश्वास है आने वाले समय में भारत सरकार द्वारा किए जा रहे ये प्रयास दिल्ली को एक आदर्श शहर बनाने में बड़ी भूमिका निभाएंगे।
Another important story that dominated the headlines today, New India is focusing on bold reforms, big infrastructure and the big talent, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Wednesday. He was delivering the inaugural address at the 3-day Global Investors Meet in West Karnataka 2022 via video conferencing. The Prime Minister said that at this time of global economic uncertainty, the whole world is confident that the Indian economy's fundamentals are strong. He said Karnataka has the power of double engine with the same party in the government at both the state and centre, adding that when we speak about talent and technology, the first name that comes to mind is brand Bengaluru. Take a listen.
रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में आज भारत ने जो मुकाम हासिल किया है वो पूरी दुनिया के लिए मिसाल है। ग्रीन ग्रोथ और सस्टेनेबल एनर्जी की दिशा में उठाए गए हमारे कदमों ने ज्यादा से ज्यादा निवेशकों को आकर्षित किया है।
Moving on, Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Wednesday addressed public meetings at multiple places in Himachal Pradesh. He told voters in Hamirpur that they had the option of choosing a dynastic party like the Congress or the BJP whose work in developmental under the leadership of Narendra Modi is unparalleled.
मोदी जी ने 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन को कर 40,000 करोड़ रुपया हमारे सेना के जवानों के परिवार के बैंक अकाउंट में डालने का काम किया। कांग्रेस पार्टी ने इसका जवाब देना चाहिए कि भाई इस देश पर 60 साल तक राज किया, 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन आप क्यों नहीं दे पाए?
Gujarat observed state mourning on Wednesday for the victims of the Morbi Bridge tragedy. The national flag was flown at half-mast at government buildings across the state. State Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel attended a program to pay tributes to the victims in Ahmedabad. 135 people died in the cable bridge collapse in Morbi on 30th of October. 9 people have been arrested in the incident. FSL officials said it while the floor of the bridge had been changed, the cables were neither replaced nor maintained properly. Take a listen.
जो 4 को रिमांड में भेजा गया, इनमें 2 लोग जो थे औरेवा कंपनी के मैनेजर थे, 2 लोग जो थे जिन्होंने फैब्रिकेशन वर्क की ब्रिज के लिए किया है। मेन यही ग्राउंड के इनके पीछे कौन लोग हैं, किनके कहने से इनको ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला और ऐसे नॉन क्वालिफाइड पर्सन थे तो फिर क्यों उनको ये काम दिया गया, उसके लिए इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना है, इनके लिए रिमांड मांगी गई है।
Meanwhile, the Morbi Bar Association and the Rajkot Bar Association have said member lawyers will not legally defend the people arrested for the accident.
मोरबी बार एसोसिएशन और राजकोट बार एसोसिएशन ने ऐसा निर्णय किया है कि ये जो दुर्घटना हुई है उसका जो तोहमतदार है उसको भी 9 पर्सन्स को अरेस्ट किया गया है। अभी उसका कोई केस राजकोट बार एसोसिएशन और मोरबी बार एसोसिएशन लड़ाई नहीं करेंगे, वो फाइट नहीं देंगे, ऐसा सबने ठराव पास किया है। रिजोल्यूशन दोनों बार एसोसिएशन ने पास किया है।
RBI Governor Shaktikant Das has defended the Reserve Bank's actions in dealing with inflation. The RBI Governor told the annual feedback conference of bankers in Mumbai that taking drastic measures ahead of time would have cost the economy and citizens a heavy price. Das said the RBI decided to support the economy by not increasing the interest rates aggressively due to the rise in inflation. He also called the digital currency of the RBI a historic movement that will change the way business is done.
Now, amidst all this, external demand, however, remains a weak spot in the face of accentuating global economic slowdown. Domestic inflation remains elevated. We are closely monitoring the inflation trends as well as the effect of our past actions. In our view, that is in Reserve Bank's view and in my view, price stability, sustained growth and financial stability need not be mutually exclusive. In the Mahabharata,
And now a look at other news from across the nation. President Draupadi Murmu, who is on a two-day visit to Nagaland, virtually inaugurated and laid foundation stones of several projects of the state. The president also met state ministers at the Raj Bhavan that was followed by a state banquet at the chief minister's residential complex. Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut's judicial custody has been extended by 14 days. He was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate on August 1 in the 1,034 crore Patra Chol land scam case. The ED alleged that the Raut helped the accused commit the fraud, and in exchange more than 1 crore was diverted to his wife Varsha Raut through different methods. 4 terrorists were killed in 2 separate encounters with security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Police said Lashkar-e-Toiba commander Mukhtar Ahmed is among 3 terrorists killed in Khandipora village in Avantipora area of Pulwama district. In another encounter at Semthan village in the Bijbehara area of Anantnag district, 1 terrorist was shot dead by security forces. The DRDO on Wednesday carried out a maiden flight test of Phase 2 Ballistic Missile Defense BMD AD-1 missile. All components of the BMD weapon system that were spread out across a variety of locations participated in the flight test. The test flight was carried out with a large-scale altitude bracket from the APJ Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha. And there has been a slight improvement in the air quality of Delhi. The Commission for Air Quality Management said that there is no immediate need to impose restrictions under the 4th phase of the Graded Response Action Plan. Slipping into a very short break here, lots more coming up on the other side. You stay tuned to Sansad TV for more news.
Nature and You, the Environment Series, aim is to awake and aware people to protect our environment, be it climate or wildlife crisis, depletion of ocean resources, waste management issues. Only on Sansad TV.
Those in favor, please say aye. जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, I think the ayes have it. हवालों के पक्ष में हुआ, ayes have it. The bill is passed.
संसद सदस्य सामान्य जनहित के मामलों पर प्रस्ताव संकल्प सदन में चर्चा करने के लिए संसद में लाते रहते हैं। लेकिन कभी ऐसा भी हो जाता है कि चर्चा के लिए लाए गए प्रस्ताव को सदन के अध्यक्ष स्वीकार तो कर लेते हैं, लेकिन उस पर चर्चा के लिए कोई तारीख तय नहीं की जाती है। तो ऐसे प्रस्ताव को ही नो डे येट मोशन के रूप में जाना जाता है। इस प्रस्ताव को राज्यसभा के साथ साथ लोकसभा में भी पेश किया जा सकता है। Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news, and let's take a look now at all the latest from the Russia-Ukraine war front. The UN Security Council scheduled a vote on Wednesday on a resolution that would establish a commission to investigate Russian claims that Ukraine and the United States are carrying out military biological activities. Russia circulated a 310-page document to Council members last week, alleging that this biological activity is taking place in Ukraine with support from the US Defense Department. The document included an official complaint to the Security Council allowed under Article 6 of the 1972 Biological Weapons Convention and a draft resolution that would authorize the Security Council to set up a commission comprising the 15 Council members to investigate Russia's claims. Moving on, Russia has said that it will resume its participation in the Black Sea grain deal. This was shortly after Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan told his country's parliament that Russian participation in a UN-brokered Ukrainian grain export deal will resume on Wednesday. Erdogan said Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu informed his Turkish counterpart that the deal will resume. Russia has told civilians to leave an area along the Dnieper River in the Ukrainian province of Kherson. Russia had previously ordered civilians out of a pocket it controls on the West Bank, where Ukrainian forces have been advancing for weeks with the aim of capturing the city of Kherson. Poland is building a razor wire fence on its border with Russia's Kaliningrad, its defense minister said on Wednesday, amid concerns that the enclave might become a conduit for illegal migration. With tensions rising due to the war in Ukraine, he cited security concerns and referred to the crisis triggered last autumn when thousands of African and Middle Eastern migrants tried to cross the Belarus border into Poland. Russia will summon Britain's ambassador to Moscow over what it said was the involvement of British specialists in a Ukrainian drone strike on the Black Sea Fleet. The British ambassador will shortly be summoned to the Russian Foreign Ministry in this regard, a spokesperson informed. Ukraine's First Lady made an emotional appeal for help at one of the world's largest tech events that was being held in Lisbon on Tuesday. In a surprise address on the opening night, Olena Zelenska gave a first-hand account of the current energy crisis and how the war has affected her homeland, from power shortages to mental health. The First Lady showed several photographs of victims of the war and called on members of the tech community to help Ukraine. Senior Russian military leaders had discussions about when and how Moscow might deploy a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine, according to US media reports. The report said Putin was not part of the conversations. Moving on, Ukraine's sole power grid operator announced that power outages were implemented in multiple regions as it prepares to stabilize energy supply damaged by recent Russian drone and missile attacks. Consumption restrictions are necessary to reduce the load on the grid, it said. And now news from some other parts of the globe. With over 84% votes counted, Israel's former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right religious bloc on Wednesday seems all set to make a dramatic comeback to power. The exit polls projected that pro-Netanyahu parties may win up to 65 seats in the 120-member parliament. The alliance comprised Netanyahu's Likud party, Religious Zionism, Jewish Power, Sahas, and United Torah Judaism. Based on the current count, Netanyahu's bloc would pick up 65 seats, though this number may change as more ballots are processed, the report said. Israelis voted on Tuesday for an unprecedented fifth time in 4 years to break the political impasse that has paralyzed the country. The vote seemed to have been influenced largely by two factors, including right-wing polarization and the prospect of veteran politician Netanyahu leading the coalition. Observers are also noting that a surprising level of voter apathy in the Arab sector. Moving on, South Korea on Wednesday struggled to come to terms with the death of more than 150 people in a Halloween party crush, with mourners dealing with the trauma. Meanwhile, the police have launched a probe into the poor response by its personnel to many calls for help. Take a look at this report.
South Korea's National Police Agency on Wednesday raided local police departments in Seoul and the city's Yongsan district office. The raids were part of its investigation into whether official ineptitude contributed to the deadly crowd surge that killed 156 people. The raids came a day after the national agency acknowledged that Seoul police failed to act for hours despite receiving at least 11 emergency calls from pedestrians warning about a swelling crowd of Halloween revelers getting out of control on Saturday. The national agency said the Special Investigation Unit was retrieving documents and other materials from the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency and other offices. Local officials and police faced sharp questions about why they didn't employ crowd controls or sufficient personnel in the small nightlife district despite anticipating a crowd of 1 lakh. National Police Chief Yoon Hee-kyun also acknowledged on Tuesday that police officers failed to handle calls notifying authorities about the potential danger of the crowd. Yoon said police have launched an intense internal probe into the officers' handling of the emergency calls. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen was in a strong position to remain in power after her Social Democrats won the most votes in Denmark's election on Tuesday, and a centre-left bloc in parliament that backs it appeared set to retain a majority by just 1 seat. More details in this report.
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's Social Democrats won the most votes in her country's election, but it was unclear on Wednesday whether the centre-left bloc that backs her government in parliament would retain its majority. With 97% of votes counted, the bloc was just 1 seat short of a majority, as a result which would leave former Prime Minister as the kingmaker. His newly formed centrist party won 9% of the vote according to official results. Frederiksen was forced to call the election earlier this month amid the fallout from her government's contentious decision to cull millions of minks as a pandemic response measure. The Social Democrats remain Denmark's top party with 28% support, but it remained unclear late on Tuesday whether the centre-left bloc would reach the 90 seats needed for a majority in the 179-seat parliament. Exit polls suggested it would fall short, but as vote counts near the end, the bloc appeared set to win 89 seats, close enough for a last-minute flip. Before the election, Frederiksen floated the idea of a broader alliance that would also include opposition parties, but was rebuffed by opposition leaders. Denmark's more than 4 million voters had to choose among 1,000 candidates, the most ever from 14 parties. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And let's now see some more international news in Global Wrap. Sirens sounded on a South Korean island and residents there evacuated to underground shelters after South Korea fired about a dozen missiles on Wednesday, at least one of them in its direction and landing near the rival's 10th sea border. South Korea quickly responded by performing its own missile test in the same border area. The launches came hours after North Korea threatened to use nuclear weapons to get the US and South Korea in protest of the ongoing South Korean-US military drills. Towns and villages across southern Nigeria have been inundated by floods, satellite images showed on Tuesday. Unusually intense seasonal rains have drenched large parts of West and Central Africa since June, unleashing deadly floods that have affected millions and submerged farmland in 19 countries. In Nigeria, rising waters have killed at least 600 people, displaced over 1 million others, and worsened a cholera outbreak. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif met Chinese President Xi Jinping on Wednesday during his 2-day visit to Beijing. Sharif arrived in Beijing a day earlier to meet Chinese leaders and discuss plans for the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a $65 billion investment in the South Asian nation. At least 5 Ecuadorian police officers were killed on Tuesday in explosive attacks in response to prisoner transfers from overcrowded and violent penitentiaries, prompting President Guillermo Lasso to declare a state of emergency in 2 provinces. Lasso, a conservative, has repeatedly blamed violence, including inside prisons, on drug gang retaliation for his government's effort to combat the trade. With giant kites soaring the skies, Guatemala commemorated its traditional Day of the Dead celebration on Tuesday. Handmade out of paper with striking designs, the gigantic kites took months to complete. To believers, the worlds between the living and the dead meshed together during this special time, and people acknowledge that as they tie handwritten messages for their loved ones to the tails of kites. And time to see what's happening in the world of sports. India beat Bangladesh by 5 runs in a thrilling World T20 match today. Batting first, India scored 184 for 6. Rain stops play after the 7th over of Bangladesh's innings. A revised target puts pressure on Bangladesh. Indian bowlers and fielders hold nerve to come out victors. Kumar Yadav is now the world's #1 batter in T20 internationals. Yadav overtakes Pakistan's Mohammad Rizwan to become just the second Indian batsman after Virat Kohli to be ranked #1 in T20s. Virat Kohli is now the leading run getter in the history of ICC T20 World Cup. Kohli goes past the record of Sri Lanka's Mahela Jayawardene, who had scored 1,016 runs in 31 innings. In another Group 2 match of the World T20, Netherlands beat Zimbabwe by 5 wickets. Netherlands first skittled out Zimbabwe for 117 and then reached the target in 18 overs. Germans giants Bayern Munich beat Inter Milan 2-0 to complete a perfect record in the Champions League group stage. Liverpool ends Napoli's 21-game unbeaten run, but a 2-0 win not enough to dislodge the Italians from top spot in Champions League Group A. And with that, it's a wrap of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining in. We'll see you tomorrow, same time. Stay tuned to Sansad TV for more news and updates. Good night. Namaskar.